Experts comb the scene of the explosion. Smoke still hangs in the air. The village restaurant has been destroyed in a blast that echoed across Mogadishu. The suicide bomber breached the security checkpoint behind me, manned by the police, before detonating his explosive-laden vehicle at this popular restaurant, mostly frequented by journalists. And a few meters ahead is the main entrance to the country's presidential palace.
The
vehicle rammed through the security checkpoint, it overturned, then minutes later there was a loud explosion.
Eyewitnesses say the attacker was targeting a police convoy that had just passed the security checkpoint. Authorities say otherwise.
The police and intelligence forces were pursuing the bomber. That's why he breached the checkpoint and his vehicle overturned. He detonated the bomb next to this restaurant because he didn't reach his intended target. Like this one, will foil and future attacks.
There's been no claim of responsibility, but the attack bears the hallmarks of Al-Shabaab. Earlier this week, the militant group claimed responsibility for an explosion that left 20 people dead just outside the port of Mogadishu. Security is tight in the Somali capital, as newly elected lawmakers are due to take their oath of office. However, the Electoral Commission says not all of the MPs have arrived in Mogadishu yet. This means another delay is likely. After they've been sworn in, the members of parliament and senators are set to hold their first parliamentary session on the 22nd of December to elect a speaker. The presidential vote is set down for the 28th, but it's already been postponed 3 times. Abdulaziz, Billow, CCTV, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Let's discuss this further with Abdulaziz Billow. He's standing by in the Somali capital right now. Abdulaziz, good to see you safe and sound. It would appear that security agencies are already on the attacker's trail prior to this explosion. Is there a sense that perhaps the authorities might be finding a way to stop these regular attacks that we have been seeing in Mogadishu?
Well, Rama, this attack comes less than a week after another attack claimed 22 lives outside the port of Mogadishu. Now, the Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for that attack that claimed 22 lives, most of them port workers and security officials. Now, interestingly, Rama, just a day before that explosion, authorities here had done a security operation on the outskirts of Mogadishu, where they nabbed a vehicle laden with improvised explosive devices. Now, when we come back to the attack here today on the village restaurant, security forces, their counter-terrorism effort has once again been put into question, Rama. In this case, the checkpoint that the suicide bomber detonated his explosives is near the country's presidential palace. That's one area that's considered one of the most fortified zones here in the capital, Mogadishu. Now, after a police checkpoint, after a convoy of police passed that area exactly, the suicide bomber forced his way past through the security checkpoint, and then authorities are saying that they managed to they were pursuing him rather, and he lost control of the vehicle and he overturned before setting off the explosives outside the village restaurant that is next to the country's national theatre. So the counter-terrorism effort of the government has once again been put into question. Now, bearing in mind the Al-Shabaab has been changing tactics over the past couple of days, and that has proved a major concern not just for Somali authorities as also for AMISOM. Now, if we look at the recent 2 deadly attacks in the capital in November and December, the Al-Shabaab used minivans. This is actually a new tactic that the Al-Shabaab has employed, and that's why it has caused a major concern here for authorities, Rama.
Indeed. As you mentioned a little earlier in your report, this is happening amidst a long drawn-out electoral process. Quite a few elected officials were supposed to be sworn in today. Did that happen?
Well, Rama, that didn't happen so far. Already we have 246 members of parliament have been elected out of 275, and we also have 43 senators who have been elected out of 54. So the ongoing polls is still the polls are still ongoing. Rather, here in the capital, Mogadishu, representatives from northern Somalia are still being selected. They're also yet to name their senators to Somalia's first ever upper house of parliament here in Mogadishu. But then again, according to the electoral timetable, the swearing in of MPs was scheduled to take place today here in Mogadishu. Now, the Electoral Commission is yet to issue a formal statement as to why the oath of office didn't take place today here in Mogadishu, but we have been able to confirm indeed that majority of the members of parliament are yet to come here to the capital, Mogadishu. They are still in some of the 5 regional capitals where elections took place. Now, interestingly,
right.
Rama,
we'll have to. I'll just have to jump in there very quickly. Abdulaziz, thank you for the update. We were running out of time on that particular link, but clearly, of course, quite a bit of work to be done with security in the Somali capital.